It is my great honor and real pleasure to introduce to you the next and present and the next governor of Vermont for the next 2 years.
Thank you, Mayor Weinberger. Thank all of you so much for being here today. It means so. You okay, John? You good? Go, John. Give him a hand. Thank you so much. And maybe we can crowd in a little bit so those folks can in the back.
Oh, you guys, I don't want to block.
They're having their own cocktail party back there. Let's bring them on in.
I'll suck it in. I just don't want to stand in front. No, you're fine.
Someone tell Eric to move them on in. Whoever that is. Hey, thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here, for standing with me as I announce my campaign for a 3rd term as your governor. Woo! Governor of Vermont for the past 4 years has been the single greatest honor of my life. You may remember where we were 4 years ago. With the support of so many of you in this room, we won a hard-fought campaign. It was a campaign in which Vermonters, they had a clear choice. We could have continued down the path of timidity, as Moreau just mentioned, avoiding the enormous challenges that our state is facing, kind of, kicking the can on down the road for another day. But we don't want to go back to those days. No way, no how. We witnessed what the state looks like when it's standing still. And we wanted to take a new direction, and by God, we did together. It was so yesterday, but together, you and I worked long days and nights on the campaign trail. We knocked on endless doors. We walked in parades. We marched in parades. We laughed in parades. We waved in parades. We made phone calls after phone calls after phone calls, thousands of them. And we committed ourselves, putting Vermont on a progressive path. We knew that being bold was the only way that Vermont was going to continue to be, as my friend Secretary Deb Markowitz said so many times, the best state in the nation to live, to work, to raise a family. Yeah. And we knew that meant creating jobs that will sustain our growing economy. It means, it means investing, as Madeline just mentioned, in universal pre-K, early childhood education. It means helping kids get 2 years head start on college so they don't graduate with crushing debt for themselves and their struggling families trying to pay the bill. It means investing in renewable energy as if our way of life and our economy depends upon it, because indeed they do. Means treating the epidemic of heroin and Oxycontin and opiate addiction as the public health crisis that it is, and providing treatment and hope to our fellow Vermonters instead of jail sentences and a continuing endless cycle of addiction. And yes, it means having Vermont join every other developed country in the world in treating healthcare as a right of birth and not a privilege of station in life or employment. I don't need to remind all of you that we fought against a worthy opponent and had a healthy debate over the future of this great state. Together, we won that race, and I'll always be grateful to everybody crammed into this room, because without you, we would not be here. Thank you. Now, you may remember, okay, you don't have to clap for yourself. You may remember that I promised Vermonters that I would work hard to get tough things done. And we've had our share of tough challenges. Irene devastated parts of our state, took away precious lives, and doled out untold hardship on thousands and thousands of Vermonters. But we started rebuilding, even as the floodwaters were still receding, and we've been making great progress ever since, becoming a national model for resilience. Businesses that were destroyed were back open in months, and guess what? They're growing jobs today. Communities devastated by the storm, buried in water and mud and devastation, they're once again thriving just 3 years later. And 3 years ago, I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams that I'd be cutting the ribbon on a new state-of-the-art mental health hospital in Berlin that's finally going to meet the needs of those who are suffering from mental health, or breaking ground, as I did just a few weeks ago, on a new flood-resilient, state-of-the-art, green, clean office buildings in Waterbury that represent the biggest public project any governor has overseen in the history of this great state. We've come a long way in rebuilding our state. That's right, we really have. And we've rebuilt it, you got it, better than the way Irene found us. Have you heard that before? Better than the way Irene found us. And we've made real progress on the agenda that we all fought so hard to advance 4 years ago. Our economy is growing, and we're creating jobs with one of the lowest unemployment rates in the entire nation. We're embracing an energy future powered by renewables and showing the rest of the country how we can take advantage of the challenges of climate change and turn it into economic opportunity while we keep dollars in Vermonters' pockets and make this planet more livable for our kids and grandkids. As Governor Shumlin mentioned, we're making sure that we know what's in our food, that our children and our loved ones are eating, by requiring proper labeling for our food products. I was so darn proud to work with you to pass the nation's first law that ensures that we know if genetically modified products are in the foods that we consume. We took on the food industry to stand up for the consumers of the great state of Vermont, and we're going to be well served for that courage. And with Deb in my sights, we are moving forward on the nation's first single-payer healthcare system that contains cost, takes the burden off of employers, and simplifies the system for all Vermonters. I was elected to get tough things done, and this may well be the toughest, but I will not rest until it is done. In a country where our poorest citizens, our most vulnerable citizens, continue to lose ground, we've made progress over the past 4 years for our most vulnerable. Yet we know that there's still many Vermonters who are falling behind, not only in Vermont, but across the nation. They're struggling to make ends meet. And when you're struggling to make ends meet, working multiple jobs or living in fear that you're going to lose the job that you have, and lose your livelihood, it doesn't much matter that Vermont has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation. It doesn't matter to you. When you're worried that an illness or an accident could mean total economic devastation, insecurity, and bankruptcy for you or your family, the promise of single-payer health care is just a promise until we actually deliver. When you or your loved one is living with addiction, and you're running out of hope, and your family's running out of hope, but their ideas are wrong for Vermont, and they'll take us and our state backwards. One of my opponents thinks that Vermonters don't have a right to health care. His idea of health care reform is to tell Vermonters, you're on your own, good luck, and fend for yourself. Fend for yourself. Another one really doesn't have an opinion. He says he's, quote, agnostic, whatever that means. And he said he'll make up his mind and let you know how he feels perhaps sometime after the election. As for the other issues facing the state, my Republican and Libertarian opponents' positions can be summed up like this. They're against pretty much everything that you and I are for. That's the brutal truth. They live in a world of no. In the case of my Republican opponent, that means no positions on issues. I wonder sometimes if my Republican opponent has any ideas other than no that he's willing to share with the rest of us. I'll give credit to the Libertarian Party candidate. You know, at least he's willing to take positions on issues, and frankly, some of them are very clear positions, even though his positions are far outside the mainstream of Vermonters. In this election, I'm going to be asking Vermonters to continue to say yes to progress, to equality of opportunity, and to making the bold choices that will lift incomes for middle-class working Vermonters and keep Vermont moving up. That's what this campaign is all about. You. Just as we as a state must say yes to progress, I need you to say yes to working hard over the next 2 months. Can I count on you to join me in knocking on doors all over the state? Are you in? Can I count on you to stuff envelopes and to make phone call after phone call after phone call to help get out our voters? Are you in on that? To talk to your neighbors, to your loved ones, to your colleagues, to total strangers about the importance of the coming 2 years for our state, for our environment, for our economy, for our quality of life. Can I count on you for that? Good. Thank you. Because you can count on me. You can count on me to keep working hard every day for an even better Vermont. For standing with me. I stand with you, and together we're going to win on November 4th. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.